for her.
Yes.
Yes.
They asked you a quick question about the order.
Sure.
Just about how they'll line up.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to prep. Yeah, you can enjoy. Everything's perfect and fun. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
She's going to be a yes.
You know,
Bye.
I'm happy to meet you, Lucy. Right. Yes. Here we are. So Kelly and I know each other from baseball. Yeah. In the bleachers. Hot summer days. Yes, exactly.
Thank you for coming. What's up? Good to see you. Thank you for coming.
Since your boss has to, I'm going to stay in home. So just like cycle back in. Cool. Great.
Thank you guys for coming.
Hey, good morning. I'm on text for this press release, and I'm wondering if you could just
Good morning.
I'm Deputy Press Secretary for Jody.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, good to see you. Oh, are you guys in here?
Yeah.
I was just going to direct them back.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
Should be good. So no cancel this time. It's not good. So yeah.
Good day. You guys need a mic check? All right. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Good? Good? Okay.
Thank you all for being here today. What a crew of members that we have joining us. I'm August Pfluger, Chairman of the Republican Study Committee, and the day is finally here. Right here is the framework for what we're calling the Make American Dream Affordable Again, Reconciliation 2.0 plan, making the American Dream affordable again. And it's focused on exactly that. And you're going to see a framework of legislation that my colleagues will be discussing, talking about how when Biden was president in the 4 years that he was there, he spent time and he couldn't have done a better job of making everything more unaffordable and more cumbersome. So now Republicans are spending the next 3 years, starting now, making the American dream affordable again. And it would be political malpractice if we did not pursue a Reconciliation 2.0 plan. Here's the reality of where our nation is right now. Republicans passed a historic bill that you're all familiar with, the Working Families Tax Cut Act, on July 4th of 2025. And that has supercharged the economy, fixing the damage inflicted by the left on our country. But there's no reason to stop on our progress right now. We have momentum on our side, and there's more work to be done. But we owe it to the next generation. We owe it to the American public. And that's why we're acting with urgency and introducing this framework. Let me tell you why the Republican Study Committee is leading this effort. It's because the RSC is the engine of ideas in Congress. At 190 members strong, with nearly every single member on a fantastic committee, we've been working with experts, with members, with the grassroots, with committees and conservatives on this. And when you look at the first reconciliation bill, it delivered the largest tax cut in American history. It's time to build on that progress. But the clock is ticking. We have less than 11 months left in the 119th Congress, and Democrats shut the government down for over 40 days last fall. And they admitted in doing that they were using American families as leverage. Remember when Katherine Clark said that families were her only leverage? Well, we look at families as our biggest asset, and that's why this legislation, this framework, this reconciliation plan is so important. And the only way forward in this fight, unfortunately, is without Democrats. They refuse to work across the aisle, even at the expense of their own constituents. Now look at Biden's record. 4 years of Democrat-led policies crushed home ownership. It drove up health care costs, and it made energy unaffordable. It's like they studied how to price the middle class out of existence. So we're using this reconciliation process to fix what they broke. And not only are we fixing it, but we're going to cut the deficit. We're going to cut the fraud, waste, and abuse. You're going to hear about provisions that will do exactly that. And by doing those provisions, America will be affordable again. There's three major things that I think are threatening the American dream right now: housing costs, healthcare costs, and energy costs. And that's why we're here. Creating the Dawn payment system to slash the cost of zero down payments for families. Redirecting Obamacare subsidies directly into the hands of patients, of Americans, of you, not into the insurance companies. Codifying President Trump's deregulation efforts to enhance innovation and get the economy cooking again. We've got to get this done. We know we have a narrow window of time. The American people gave us a mandate, and we are not going to stand idly by watching this time just pass. We're going to take action, and that's why we're here. Again, let me say it would be political malpractice if we did not pursue a path of reconciliation. And I'm so glad to hear that the Speaker of the House has endorsed a reconciliation plan. We believe that this framework right here is a great starting point to start the conversation that takes member bills. 70+% of what you're going to find in this framework has already either been introduced or passed through the House. And we're going to build on that success. I'd like to introduce my neighbor, somebody that we are so happy to have here in Congress, and somebody who has done more to get us back into a fiscally responsible position, Jody Arrington from Lubbock, Texas.
Thank you, Chairman Pfluger, my friend, my neighbor, my fellow West Texan. You had me at hello, and Reconciliation 2.0, the most powerful and potent legislative tool in the toolbox for us to fix what's broken, to clean up this mess, and to give our fellow Americans a safer, stronger, more prosperous, and more affordable country. So thank you for your leadership. you don't, fighter pilots like August don't wait for somebody to tell them to engage. They see a problem and they attack it. And that's the mentality we have to have at this historic moment in the life of our great nation. We watched for 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration and total Democrat control, one self-inflicted disaster after another. Our country pushed to the precipice of utter catastrophe. And we have this moment that the American people gave us, and we have this tool of reconciliation. I implore my colleagues to continue to fight, to unify, to work together, and to get the job done that the people sent us here. To coast into November would be the greatest travesty of my tenure here in Congress. And I liken it, you'll appreciate the West Texas football analogy, but it'd be like being up by 3 points at the halftime, coming out and at the beginning of the third quarter go straight into prevent defense. I mean, that would be the biggest loser team I've ever seen. And we're not going to miss this moment. And it's going to be because of leaders like August Pfluger and my colleagues on this stage, and I commend them for their work to develop this policy framework that would address affordability in health care, to housing, to electricity and gas prices, which, by the way, are coming down. Look, policies have consequences. And the 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, total Democrat control, with failed economic policies and unbridled, unprecedented trillions of dollars in deficit spending, pushed our economy to the brink of a sovereign debt crisis, put us in a recessionary situation, and made life unaffordable. Lit the fuse on the cost of living crisis in this country. We haven't seen that, the level of unaffordability, in almost a half a century. They were paying people not to work. They were giving health care and welfare to people in this country illegally. They were bailing out student loans, union pensions. They were expanding the IRS by tens of billions of dollars. They were taxing our job creators. They had a whole of government assault on the lifeblood of our economy, which is our domestic conventional fuel supply. And the list goes on. That was the Molotov cocktail that put us in an economic tailspin and put our families, our working families, in a bad way. Okay? What did we do? The American people gave us unified Republican leadership, gave us Donald Trump, a new CEO, competent leadership. They want common sense policies, and they want to be able to feed their families and pay the bills. So we passed the big, beautiful bill. It's big because it was the largest tax cut, spending cut, welfare reform, energy dereg in the history of our country. It's beautiful because of its impact on our fellow Americans who are struggling every day because of the disaster, the self-inflicted disaster of the Biden failed economic agenda, right? Look at what's happening. Real wages are up for the first time in 4 or 5 years prior to the Biden administration because they're outpacing inflation. Core inflation is coming down. Interest rates in the long term and short term coming down. Business investment up. Consumer spending still strong. Growth 4.3. We put a 2.6 assumption in our big beautiful bill, and you would have thought, people went crazy. Are you sure you can achieve 2.6? 4.3 last quarter, the quarter before, 3.8, because policies have consequences. And economic freedom, instead of lighting the fuse of inflation with bad policies, we're lighting the fuse of prosperity with economic freedom. And by the way, largest tax refund, $100 billion roughly. Another $100 billion and less withholdings. People are putting more money in their pockets. And listen, And I'm just talking about the affordability issue. I do think it's the most important issue for November. I think it's the most important issue for the American people. They have total confidence that President Trump's going to secure the border. He's going to enforce the law and keep them safe. And he's going to restore respect on the global stage and peace through strength. But the question going into November is, can we accelerate what we're seeing with gas prices coming down, rent coming down, mortgage rates? People paid an average of $1,000 more for their monthly mortgage, $1,000 more because of the failed policies of the Biden administration. Just in a year, with good economic policies, they're paying $200 less. All boats will rise on prosperity. We had the lowest poverty rate in recorded history when we put these policies in place in the first Trump administration. We've got to double down like never before because we've got to dig out of a big hole and we've got to reverse the curse. And that is what this is about up here. And that's why I love these guys and I commend them for their efforts. And that's why I have confidence that that when November comes, life will be better, quality of life will be better, and the American people, we will earn their confidence to keep this unified Republican leadership team in place and continue to do great things for the greatest country in human history. Amen, amen, amen. Right? I want to start stomping. Now, the man with the plan, the legend from Minnesota's 1st District, Brad Finstad. I yield whatever time is remaining after my 2-minute remarks. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Arrington. Thank you, Chairman Pfluger, for putting this together. I am proud to be from the state of 10,000 lakes. Unfortunately, today, every day, there's a new story breaking that we are now becoming the land of 10,000 stories of fraud. And this is a direct result of out-of-control government spending with no guardrails. And so our opportunity in Congress right now stands before us with Reconciliation 2.0, and that is to put more guardrails, more common sense, that really meet the need of our compassionate conservative values. The neighbors back home in southern Minnesota that I represent, they're sick of talking. They're done. They're sick of the stories of fraud. They're sick of being fleeced. They're sick of their goodwill and the good-heartedness and the compassion conservative values that they have being trampled on at the trough of big government spending. And so it is high time that we take a look at these programs top to bottom. Reconciliation process will provide us the opportunity, when we federally allocate monies that are administered by the states, that we put teeth into those programs to make sure that the fraudsters can no longer fleece us of our hard-earned taxpayer dollars. And so I'm proud to work with the Republican Study Committee on advancing legislation that will put more teeth to these programs, that will put the bad guys, the bad gals in jail, and that we will hold people accountable once and for all. The appetite for out-of-control government spending that the Democrats possess is as insane as you can imagine, and I would just say it's time to step away from the government buffet. Put the fork down. Let's tighten our belts. Let's make sure we can save this country, not for us, but for our kids and for our grandkids. And that's really what's at stake, is a fiscally sane country that our kids and our grandkids can live and prosper in. And I appreciate the work of the Republican Study Committee under Chairman Pfluger's leadership, and I look forward to getting this across the finish line. And with that, I want to introduce a very strong Minnesota Vikings fan, Kat Kamek.
Brad, we were supposed to be making up facts. It is true. I am a diehard Minnesota Vikings fan, which means I am perpetually disappointed and will probably never see them win a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you to Chairman Pfluger, there you are, for your leadership. This is the moment where we will look back and say, holy buckets, they really did it. They laid it out, they had a vision, they had a plan, and they executed. When we talk about the American dream, it often invokes visions of white picket fences and young families and the whole notion that if you just work hard, that you can achieve whatever you put your mind to. My American dream was a little bit different. See, I grew up wanting to actually own the Minnesota Vikings. And instead of having, granted, I did have Backstreet Boys and NSYNC on my wall, but I also had John Randall, Warren Moon, the Purple People Eaters. I had Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Dante Culpepper. I had their posters on my wall because I had believed and bought into this notion that if you really worked hard, you could achieve and be anything that you wanted. And I wanted to own the Minnesota Vikings. Well, growing up on a small cow-calf operation, I learned the value of hard work. Our family business was commercial sandblasting, and that also taught me the value of hard work. But along the way, I also learned how government was stealing our American dream by continuing to interject itself in every aspect of our life. Now, fast forward, my family, we lost our ranch and our livelihood due to an Obama-era housing program. And for the first several months of my post-collegiate life, I was homeless. Now, fast forward 10 years, and I'm serving in the House of Representatives. Someone who can go from homeless to House of Representatives, that is a version of an American dream. But that ability to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and succeed it's disappearing. And that's why I'm so excited about today's announcement that RSC's Reconciliation 2.0 blueprint will make sure that we remain a nation of equal opportunity, not equal outcome. Because the 4 years under Biden were all about equal outcome. As part of this initiative, and I have to apologize to my team. They did a fabulous job putting together remarks. And much like our president, they shudder when I start deviating from the script. But as part of this announcement today, I am so proud that we are including the NEST Act, the Next Gen Equity Savings Tool. Like so many millennials and Gen Zs, I know what it's like to struggle to buy your first home. And if you talk to anyone under the age of 40, they will tell you it is virtually impossible due to the enormous barrier of entry. It is impossible to buy their first home. Interest rates are too high. Inventory is too low. You can't get in to even tour a home before it's snapped up by someone else, probably a little bit older, or a corporation that's buying in cash. And so today, we are including the NEST Act, which would allow for millennials or first-time home buyers, age does not apply, first-time home buyers would be allowed to save for their down payment tax-free. This is in line with an America First agenda. It is about empowering people, not government. And I couldn't be more thankful that today it is part of this proposal that will help solidify the cornerstone of the American dream, home ownership. Thank you to August Pfluger for including this. I'm so sorry to my team for not reading your remarks. They were beautiful. We will post them. But I can't stress enough how important home ownership is to the American dream. It's about the moment, yes, today, but it is also about generational wealth tomorrow. So thank you to RSC and the chairman. And with that, I want to introduce another great American, Representative Burleson.
Thank you, Kat. First, I want to thank our leader and our chairman, August Pfluger, for his, dedication to bringing this issue forward and for keeping healthcare affordability front and center in the RSC's work. This is exactly the issue that the American people and families across this country are expecting us to confront head on. The reality is simple. Healthcare in America is too expensive, too confusing, and moving in the wrong direction. Families are paying more every year in premiums, deductibles, and taxes, and yet getting less for what they pay for. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, when myself and my wife entered the workforce in the year 2000, the average family costs for premiums were just above $6,000 annually. Today, that's almost $27,000 annually for a family. That's where the core of the affordability crisis has landed. As an economy, the United States now spends nearly $5 trillion annually on healthcare, which is 18%, sucking up 18% of our entire economy, when just years before it was only 13%. Now, we were here because Obamacare was sold as a lie. It inflated demand with subsidies. while at the same time doing nothing to expand the supply of health care. Hospital prices have risen 3 times faster than normal inflation, and networks have narrowed, and premiums continue to rise. At the same time, our Democrats want to double down on dumb and throw more dollars after this failed Obamacare system, wanting to put another $500 billion added to our national debt in order to prop up this failing system. We cannot ignore the looming supply crisis as well. Currently, we have a shortage in America of about 17,000 family doctors in the United States. 17,000. That's expected to grow to 86,000 over the next coming years. And subsidies are not going to fix the provider shortage that we have. This is the moment for Republicans to lead. We can't simply oppose Obamacare. We have to offer the American people a real alternative that restores choice, transparency, and affordability. And Mr. Chairman, I think you'll like this line. It's time for Republicans to step up to the plate. And the American people are not expecting a base hit. They need a home run. In short, this conference needs to go big or go home, because the American people are going to send us home if we don't deliver. That means putting patients back in control of their health care dollars, expanding the supply of providers through residency reform and workforce flexibility, and allowing competition to drive down costs. Our families in America deserve more than mandated coverage and endless subsidies. They deserve a system that actually works for them. And these Republicans in RC are ready to deliver. And with that, I want to introduce my good friend from Florida and my father-in-law's favorite Congresswoman, Laurel Lee.
I know many people have a home or a second home or visit us sometime in Florida's 15th Congressional District. But it's wonderful to be here this morning. I want to thank my colleagues and thank you, Chairman Pfluger, for your leadership and for bringing us all here together today to talk about the process of a second reconciliation bill. This second reconciliation bill is really about finishing the job that we started. We've heard so much this morning about the potential economic impact, the potential upside for families all across America if we succeed today. But I'd like to take a moment to focus on something that is so important in my community and across the country, and that is community safety, public safety. While Democrats spend time undermining and vilifying the men and women of law enforcement, Republicans are choosing a different path. We are standing with the men and women who protect our communities, and we are using the tools that we have available here in Congress and through reconciliation to make our communities safer. Reconciliation gives us the opportunity to further the promises that we have made to the American people that matter. This framework prioritizes public safety by rewarding state and local governments that follow the law. The Safe Cities Fund ensures federal resources go to communities who are working in good faith with the Trump administration, who are working in good faith to actually reduce crime, to follow our nation's laws, to deport people who have come to this country illegally, and to help us restore public order where it is necessary. It also draws a clear line when it comes to sanctuary policies. States and cities that openly defy federal law should not receive federal dollars. States and cities that refuse to follow the law, that refuse to comply with policies that are duly enacted by Congress, should not be receiving federal transportation dollars. Taxpayer funding should never subsidize lawlessness and should never be used to undermine our nation's border security. By codifying President Trump's public charge rule, we reaffirm a common sense principle. Our immigration policies should not incentivize dependency or place unnecessary and inappropriate strain on the American taxpayer. This reform strengthens accountability and it protects public resources. This is what responsible governing looks like. Republicans are choosing safety over chaos, enforcement over excuses, and the rule of law over reckless political theater. I am so proud to stand with Chairman Pfluger and my colleagues here today as we advance a framework that can and will deliver real results for the American people. And with that, it is my privilege to introduce my friend and colleague from the great state of Florida, Mike Herodopoulos.
Thank you, Laurel. Well said. I want to thank Chairman Pfluger for this leadership. This is why we're all here, to get things done for a change. I got back into politics because I was tired of watching TV and watching the failure in Washington, D.C. And as a former history teacher, I remember the line early in my youth, "Are you better off than you were before?" Think about it, 1 year later, the difference that Republican leadership has made. The border is secure, gas prices are down, interest rates are down, and the economy is growing again. And when you look at your statement on your 401k, you smile. That's morning in America. And I'm laid out, these proposals are right on target. As the chairman said, these have been tested already in committee. They're moving forward in a positive way. But there's a clear choice here, and life is about choices. Republicans are saying one simple thing. We want to empower the individual. We want to put money back into your pocket. After all, you earned it. And you make the big decisions in your life, be it health care or otherwise. The contrast is clear as well with the Democrats. Their solution is send more power and more money to Washington because we know better than you. I think they're wrong. And this is why we're excited about this proposal. We know they're not going to support this overall budget package because they want to play the game in November. We want to continue winning. We think we'll have a better story a year from now as we get ready for the fall elections because we're making it, again, a power to be an American empowered by their own resources as opposed to being dependent on the government. It is morning in America again. We are moving forward, and it's because of the good ideas that have been outlined today by the RSC, which I'm proud to be a member of. With that, I want to introduce my friend from Arizona, a fellow warm weather state. We miss the warm weather in this time of year, but Abe Hamadeh has been a real leader and a real champion for RSC. Thank you.
Good morning. Now, thank you, Chairman Pfluger, for your incredible leadership on this opportunity to speak today. And, we're going to be delivering President Trump's America First agenda and continue to deliver that to the American people. The Democrat obstruction has hit new lows. We know what they've been doing in the Senate. They've been blocking President Trump's nominees. They let solid conservative bills die in the Senate and threw away 43 days by throwing a temper tantrum by shutting down our government that hurt the American people. It's clear they're not interested in working with us to actually help the people. Instead, their priorities are the illegal immigrants over the citizens that they represent. Now, Republicans in Congress can and must go it alone with the second reconciliation bill. And this RSC's framework is all about making life affordable again for the American people and putting the American worker first. It prevents illegal immigrants from obtaining all government handouts, cracks down on rampant fraud like the abuse and mess that we've seen in Democrat states like in Minnesota, and reforms funding so only citizens count when we're doling out federal funds to the states. Now, this is our moment to flip the script, restore balance for the American people, and put power back in your hands, not bureaucrats, foreign nationals, or illegal immigrants. This bill achieves more conservative wins for House Republicans. It codifies President Trump's executive orders and slashes even more wasteful spending. My colleagues and I didn't run for office to continue the status quo. We understand that business as usual will put our country out of business. We were elected to help President Trump make America great again. And with Reconciliation 2.0 in this framework, we take another giant step towards that. And with that, I am proud to introduce a friend and a great congresswoman from the great state of Oklahoma, Stephanie Bice.
Thank you, Abe. And I first want to say thanks to Chairman Pfluger and the members of the RSC who have worked tirelessly on this important policy framework to put forward a Reconciliation 2.0 bill. I'll start by echoing what my colleagues have said. We must do this second package to continue to codify President Trump's agenda and to enact a pro-growth and pro-America agenda. Affordability starts with energy and deregulation, and that's why I was thrilled to see numerous pieces of legislation in the framework that will continue to unleash American energy production and exploration. This includes my bill, the BLM Mineral Spacing Act, legislation I authored which seeks to prevent the federal government from blocking energy projects in situations where they have minority ownership of a spacing unit. We've seen gas prices across the country come down. I just passed a gas station at home this weekend, $1.95. 4 years ago, we were looking at $5 plus a gallon. And these types of policies are so important to make sure that in the future, we don't see that $5 a gallon gas come back. In addition to addressing affordability, it also includes pro-America and pro-family policies that'll strengthen and uplift working parents so they don't have to choose between caring for a newborn and a paycheck. This is the More Paid Leave for More Americans Act, legislation that is not a new federal mandate, but instead builds a flexible spending strategy that supports state innovation and addresses the real challenges faced by American families who are looking to start a family. These types of policies have been championed by the Trump administration, and I'm proud to support them and look forward to making sure that this next reconciliation package does exactly what my friend from Texas, Mr. Arrington, talked about. It focuses on deregulation, it focuses on energy, it focuses on healthcare, and it focuses on families. And with that, I want to introduce the subcommittee chair of the Labor H Subcommittee on Appropriations, Mr. Robert Adderholt.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's great to be here this morning, and I, as chairman of the House Value Action Team, I am not only have an opportunity to be a member of the Republican Study Committee, but as I say, I'll be a part of a caucus that defends and advances what we call civilization issues. The Value Action Team focuses on family values, faith values, and freedom. And I'm proud to be here with my colleague, my friend, August Pfluger, also be with the chairman of the Budget Committee, Jody Arrington, and the other members of the Republican Study Committee, as we talk about this framework for a second reconciliation bill, which will be the best opportunity to secure more conservative wins, codify more of President's executive orders, and cut more of wasteful spending that has started under the previous administration. This framework includes several provisions that are important to the Value Action Team, which includes eliminating the marriage penalty and the tax credit. It fixes the maximums on 401k contributions that penalize families with only one parent that is working. Number 3, it's making permanent the ban on abortion provider federal funding. And by the way, the defunding of the abortion funding was one of the biggest victories that was included in the first reconciliation bill. But that provision lapses on July the 4th of 2026 unless we act. And then, of course, eliminating the Medicaid ACA tax credit funding for gender procedures and elective abortions. And last but not least, establishing an excise tax on higher ed institutions that allow men to participate in female sports. I'm proud to stand here, as I say, as the chairman of the Value Action Team, but also alongside my colleagues here at the Republican Study Committee to outline these policies that support families and make real differences in the lives of everyday Americans. Republicans are working to deliver for the American family, and Reconciliation 2.0 does just that. And at this point, I yield back to Chairman Pfluger.
Thank you, Robert. Republicans have better policy. We're going to use a framework to put those policies together, exactly like you've just heard, to focus on our families, to make it more affordable, to make life a little bit easier. And I think what you'll see out of this is a lot of momentum that we're going to garner to achieve what President Trump was given a mandate to do. I think we have time for a couple of questions. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
and I'll let Kelly call afterwards.
Really quickly, Congressman Petraeus, did you want to add anything?
I'm good. Go ahead.
Good? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Have you had conversations about how you can get the entirety of the Republican conference, including moderates, on board with this, particularly with the thin majority and without the threat of expiring tax cuts at the end of the year, bringing everyone together?
I think that's why this framework is so important, because we spend a lot of time looking at what the theme of a reconciliation bill should be. What is the overlapping area that we all care about? And I would also submit to you that Democrats care about this as well. And privately, many of these bills they have supported. That this is a good framework to move forward on. The details of exactly which bills will be included, that's the hard work that we now will embark upon. But I'm confident that the overlapping theme of capturing the success of Reconciliation 1, of the One Big Beautiful Bill that delivered the largest tax cut, where on April 15th, when people get their tax returns this year, they will get more money back into their pockets. We're going to capture that success and continue to move forward.
Chairman, I have two questions. The first is, you mentioned House Speaker Mike Johnson has endorsed a plan. Just for clarification, has he endorsed your specific plan? And have you had direct engagement with the president on this? We know that anything that passes Congress has to have significant buy-in from the White House.
The Speaker has said that he is moving forward with Reconciliation 2.0. Of course we would love a personal endorsement on this plan, but he is moving forward with the notion that we have to do this. And I hope that those in the White House, obviously including the President, who has said in the past that he believes reconciliation is a good idea, I hope that they take note of this plan and will continue to use this as a framework. There's no pride and ownership of this particular plan, the details that are in it. We believe that it's good. We think it meets the moment, and we're ready at the table. We're the only organization who really has that framework. So I think this is the great starting point that we need to have that momentum.
Second question, the $1.6 billion in cuts as part of this plan, where are we going to see that coming from? Because we know, of course, this has to meet the high standard of reconciliation.
Absolutely. Well, I think as a conservative organization, and you can look at the scoring that we provide for individual bills, but as a conservative organization, we're going to spend less. We're going to save more than we spend as an overriding theme. And many of the bills that we have are savers. Let's talk about the fraud. Let's just start with fraud in Minnesota. As our friend Brad Finstad eloquently outlined, people are tired of that. And they don't want money going out the door, billions of dollars going out the door that has no accountability. The work requirements that we put in place in Reconciliation 1.0 saved us hundreds of billions of dollars. And by the way, are very popular, not just in the Republican base, but also with Democrats. Callie, I'll let you pick.
The bill or the proposal appears to have a bunch of permitting reform related provisions. I know that had been left out of the first reconciliation bill. Lawmakers had wanted a more bipartisan approach. Can you talk a little bit about the thinking behind these and why you think maybe they'll work?
There's a huge economic impact. There's a budgetary impact to seeing projects, whether it's energy projects or just buildings and roads and highways. We're doing a transportation reauthorization this year. We can't move at the speed of government. We need to move at the speed of commerce. And so it is 100% in our interest to continue to press the Senate parliamentarian, who I believe wrongly cut out some of those bills from the first bill in July of last year, and to once again make that case, which we are doing right here, because they need to be included as we build a stronger America. Our permitting system has been completely broken for so many years, where it takes decades, literally, to build anything. We cannot end up like Europe, which has basically killed all new builds. And as you see, a lot of industries leaving Europe. America has to take note of that, and this is a great opportunity for us to do that.
This will be our last question, Brian.
So I think there is this concern that because last reconciliation, you'd have so much time from last year, that might get in the way of the appropriations process, actually getting those 12 bills done for the first time since the 90s. Can you expect this to be a speedy process compared to the last time reconciliation was tried?
Well, let's give a lot of credit to Chairman Tom Cole, who has, and we have appropriators behind me here, part of the RSC, who have put blood, sweat, and tears into making sure that the appropriations process is moving forward. We passed 3 bills last week. We're going to pass another 2 this week, and we expect to pass all 12 of those bills out of the House and to send them to the Senate before January 31st. Doing something that hasn't been done literally in years, which is making good on the promise to get back to regular order. When we get to reconciliation, which I am urging concurrently, and I believe we will start working on this as early as today. Think of it like a 2-minute drill. We're going to be narrowly focused. The goal is to get across the line, and we believe that affordability and what we've outlined today is that focus that brings everyone together where we can all get behind the provisions here. And it has to be in a speedy manner. We have to do this with a sense of urgency. The American public is counting on us, and they want to know what we're doing to make life better for them. Guess what? This outlines a way to do that in a 2-minute drill fashion, with speed, with urgency, and with extreme focus to deliver on what the problem is that Biden created, and that is an unaffordable country that is overburdened by regulations where the government has injected itself wrongly, and we want to fix that. Guys, thank you very much. We'll be delivering the details of this. We appreciate your participation, and I appreciate my colleagues here for their time and their efforts. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here.